Welcome to today's podcast. I brought on Michael de Haan. Michael, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Heather. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm so excited. I have an Aussie. I love Aussies on the podcast. Please give listeners a little background. Where do you live and what do you do?
So I live on the Gold Coast, recently moved up from Sydney, and it was very much around creating the life that we desire. So we wanted to be on the coast, we wanted to be debt-free. So we brought the family up here. My wife's family's up here, so very family orientated. So we were very conscious around what we want our future to be. So we designed it and now we're living it. So really exciting. My background is I'm a behavioral money coach. So really looking at the psychology around money, because money's energy. So working with clients to really understand their money story, their beliefs, their values around money, and in particular into relationships to actually have those conversations with your partner, because you might have two different, one might be a spender, one might be a saver.
Yeah.
And each time you try and bring up the conversation around money, it's competitive. So working through a way that it's safe and you can sort of share your stories there and come up with common goals, come up with a common way as a couple to actually build your future together and live life every day. So that's one of my passions.
Before we get into the money side of it, because I like talking about money. I agree, money is energy. But before we go there, can we back it up a little bit? Something you already shared with me is, designing your future. Something I talk about is so many people live life by default rather than by design. So I think this is fascinating. And I would love for you I'd love for you to share, most people are living this default future you told me about rather than the design future. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, for sure. So the default future is based on your past. And that's your sort of beliefs, that's your programming on how you're brought up, the societal conditioning, what you should be. And that plays out in regard to potential limitations, procrastination, self-sabotage, in regard to living the life on purpose, living the life that you want to design. So living in the past doesn't serve you if you've got those limiting beliefs and behaviors that are holding you back. When you create your own life, when you design your own life, there's a line in the sand. So it's really having clarity about what will bring you joy and abundance and having a clear picture on what that looks like. And we take clients through that journey so they can actually understand what really does bring them joy and abundance. What that looks like, what does it feel like, what does it smell? So very sensory, and they can actually picture themselves achieving their ideal life, which is really exciting.
I remember when I drew the line in the sand for me. I got to the point going through life's motions, living life on a hamster wheel, dreading Monday, cheering on Friday, week in, week out. And I just had this, it literally felt like death to my soul. And so maybe somebody else hasn't hit that breaking point yet, but they are just feeling like I meant for more. I don't know what that looks like. So what would you say to that person?
And that's really, again, it's being curious about yourself and asking questions. That curiosity is such a strong word to actually start digging a bit deeper. And I was with a client last night and she's been stuck in a job for 10.5 years. And she hates Mondays, same routine as you just shared. But she's looked at other opportunities and she's gone, I can't do that, I can't do that. And I said, well, why can't you do that? What does that mean? She said, I've gone through the job description or what they require and I can't tick all the boxes. I said, no one can. That's not, if there's something that really you're passionate about that ignites you, that really excites you and gives you that energy, you just go in there and talk about it, talk about your passion, talk about your why, and then go, and here's 3 or 4 things that, I'll need support with in regard to, that role, but I'm just so keen to be part of this organization because of whatever, and sort of creating that, that sort of legacy. So I think that's the mindset that needs to change, that we actually feel stuck, but when we look at the reasons why, we're looking at it still comes down to that sort of self-worth, in regard to, are we worthy of getting a new role? We know what the existing one is. It's not good.
Yeah.
But we know it. So that's that hamster wheel you spoke about. And I call it autopilot as well, where you're just going through life in that comfort zone, not growing, but wanting to change, but just you feel stuck.
Autopilot is what I call it.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's a question that I just wrote down. Why is our default to talk ourselves out of something rather than talk ourselves into greatness?
And if you look at the role, I think, of the subconscious mind, so that forms in the last trimester before you're born, and then over the first 7 years. So, and that's really a survival mechanism. So your conscious mind hasn't formed, that's your rational, that's your creative side.
Yeah.
Yep. So the subconscious mind builds the programs, the beliefs. So it's really how you're brought up, and then it leads on to societal conditioning. And the role of the subconscious mind is to keep you safe. So if you've got those sort of beliefs that are below consciousness, and the programs that sort of run your life there, that's what's going to draw you to safety in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So even if you're looking at consciously going, this is what I really want to create, this is, and the rational side, that makes sense that I should do A, B, C to improve my life. Your subconscious mind, which runs 95% of your life, is going to say, no, you're coming back here. Remember, you're not worthy, or remember, you can't do that, or it'll play out all the stories, all the beliefs that are held within you in regard to holding you back. So that's the work that we really need to tap into, that below consciousness. And really, because we talk a lot about people with their cup full. So they actually have just got full of programs, full of beliefs, full of thoughts there that mightn't be serving them.
Yeah.
So we need to spill them out of the cup. We need to have room, provide room for new thoughts, new beliefs, new programs, the new you, in a sense.
So, and I call that our BS, our belief systems. But even on that note, so somebody, if they're listening to my podcast for a while, I talk about subconscious mind a lot. And kind of what you're touching on is you've got to pull the weeds, the fear, lack, and limitation, and plant new seeds. But somebody, maybe if they're new to this, can you give a very high level overview on what are we talking about, our subconscious programming, living life on autopilot, unconscious, going through the motions, living at mediocrity?
And I think, as I said before, with the role of the subconscious mind, so understanding that, and that runs 95% of your life. So these are sort of actions and thoughts that come before you even can look at it rationally.
Right.
And that's your safety zone there. So it'll look out to the universe, it'll look out to what's going on and go, that's safe, that's not safe. It's already doing that before you think. So that's what's keeping you limited. That's potentially what's keeping you stuck. So we look at, and I've got a saying, so it's external events are a validation of your inner story and thoughts. So people look externally and go, well, these things are happening to me. Yep. I missed out on a promotion. I'm having relationship issues. This is the time to actually look and go, question that. Goes back to that curiosity. Start going, why is this happening? Where's it sitting within me? Like, what's it triggering within me? Start really going deeper and actually trying to understand where that comes from within yourself, as opposed to looking externally.
Okay, I love that you brought that up, because on that note, even then, I think we're conditioned from society that we seek externally, right? We go to the doctor and get a pill, and our financial whatever, we just need a better paying job, or we're taught to seek externally. So how would you help somebody shift and go, whoa, I understand it, that life is a mirror of our consciousness, right? Our internal state. But how do you help somebody shift that and go, oh, wait a minute, if I go inside, become aware, I use that word a lot, awareness, become aware of how I'm thinking and feeling, okay, wait, no, I don't resonate with that. When I change, then my health, relationships, money, and everything else changes.
Yeah. And I think it's having that quietness. What you said, awareness, which is such a powerful word, because you can't transform or change your life if you haven't got an awareness.
Yeah.
That'll keep you stuck. Yep. And that sort of curiosity. So, and it's really looking at something and with a curiosity lens over it, going, well, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? As I said, with a career, relationships, and looking in the mirror and just having an honest conversation, going, if I choose to change, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I'm stuck. I'm on this hamster wheel. I want change. I desire change.
So I'm willing to bet you say this in a much softer tone, but how I would say it, or to kind of like that jolt somebody, a pattern interrupt would be one, you have to take 100% responsibility for your life. No judgment, a lot of self-compassion, but that nothing is happening to you, it's happening through you.
Yeah.
But to
And I
tell
love,
somebody they created their financial status or they attracted, a shitty partner or they got themselves fired, a lot of people would be like, no, I didn't.
yes, yeah. And that's the work we need to do to, as I said, have that sort of consciousness. And I talk it that you live in someone else's life. So when we sit down, we actually go through how they're brought up. We'll go through the money story, and a lot of times it can be a control thing where they feel controlled around money on how they're brought up. So money was conditioned around love, or if I give you this, I demand something in return. But for people to actually spend the time there, and it's quite emotional when they actually go, well, this is how I was brought up around life, and I'm doing exactly the same thing. I never understood it. I never saw the relevance of how I was brought up, how that's playing out now, but it comes quite obvious.
Yeah.
And then that's when they're going, wow, okay, I see a connection there. I see how that's playing out now. What do I do now to change?
I want to share this statistic and then, yes, let's talk about money. So I recently did a money mindset reset training. And when I was doing some research to bring to it, do you know that at least 70% of lottery winners, so we're talking mega millions, Powerball, multi-million dollar jackpots, 70% of those people lose it all within 3 to 5 years. I understand that their subconscious programming, their money story, that they had to lose it all, sabotage, right, to bring it back down to what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about people's money story, because you're right, especially in relationships. I remember when I was engaged, and he was a guy that tracked every freaking penny in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I'm much more of, I know what I have. I don't spend more than I have. But I am not a penny pincher. So you're right. I think money is a huge issue in relationships.
It's a massive issue, and it's one of the leading causes of relationship breakdown.
Yeah.
And we call it sort of an infidelity in regard to the financial side of a relationship. So that's, if you don't feel safe with your partner in regard to money, then you start drifting away, and it starts causing fractures in other parts of your relationship. So that's what we know is true. So it's really, how do you have those conversations? Because everyone was brought up differently around money. So imagine sitting down there with your partner as an example and just going, like, I notice how you just scrutinize every dollar that comes in. Can we talk about that? Like, where did that come from? You know, what does that mean in regard to our relationship? Because and I'm not saying you are, but I'm using this as an example. Like, I like to spend, and I know that that's polar opposite to what you like to micromanage and know where every dollar goes. But I like to be off the cuff, and we'll just go out for dinner somewhere and not worry about the spreadsheet for a moment.
Yeah.
So it's understanding where that sort of comes from in regard to your upbringing, your values around money, your safety around money, and then just going, well, what if we can work out a way that we don't need to fully look at the spreadsheet, that we can actually just have an overall plan, and this is what we're saving each month, or we're paying all our bills there and we've still got enough to go on holiday, whatever the case may be, or we're starting to plan for a future, and then actually just starting to work around what that future looks like, and come into a common goal in a real rational way, like a really calm way. Because if you do it when it's happening, in regard to, it might really annoy you, and he's got the spreadsheet out as an example, it's
Right.
that really, like, put it away, it's really annoying the crap out of me. And that's the time there where it'll be confrontational. We'll go back going, well, this is what I do, I've always done it, so it becomes competitive. But if you can actually, maybe the next day, just talk about, with the spreadsheet, let's talk about where that sort of comes from, why that's important to you, and then get that counteraction on the other part, on the other side.
Yeah, communication.
People don't talk about money. People,
I know,
very emotional, and it can very quickly get into that, fight or flight situation.
You know what I think was an easy, simple shift, and I heard this years ago. I love it. I don't use the word budget. I've literally never put myself on a budget, and I have no debt. Again, I just never spent more than I made. But when I heard the term a spending plan, which is literally just semantics, I think for anybody, because I feel budget is very constrictive, but when you talk about a spending plan, that's fun, right? So I think even little shifts there. But look, like what we're talking about right now with money is a bunch of symptoms. You're right. You brought up fear, security, the story, safety. But can we talk about what is money? What is money really?
So to me, money's energy.
Right.
But it's flowing in and out every day. So there's a lot of people there that welcome and have gratitude for money flowing in and gratitude for money flowing out. And it's just so powerful, where other people, as you said, they live in fear and they're very restricted. They got the scarcity mindset, where the money's coming in and they're holding on to it. They'll never have enough. So I was working with clients there that will never be able to spend what they've invested or what they've saved, but they're still in their mindset, I don't have enough. So they live in scarcity, even though they've worked hard and invested whatever and created abundance. In their mind, it's still scarcity.
But on that note, let's talk about money as energy, because you're right. Nobody is actually seeking money. Money is just the byproduct, right? It's the resource, it's the source. People are seeking freedom, safety, adventure, whatever other words people may use, but they think it's money. And look, we know money doesn't bring happiness, right? We've seen multimillionaires end their lives because it wasn't money. They were seeking happiness. So how do you help shift people, especially in this money story? One, pull the weeds, plant new seeds, right? To let go of those old narratives and the constriction around money and step into an abundance mindset, flow and ease, and that whole gratitude when it comes, when it goes. That's a big shift.
It is a big shift, yeah. And as I said, it's doing the internal work where I spoke about before. So it's really understanding your money story, how that's playing out, what that's doing in regard to either keeping you stuck or you're not happy. It's understanding your money type, and they're called archetypes, where there's 8 different money types someone can have, and they can be in a few of them. But a lot of the people that feel stuck or have scarcity have got what I call this sort of innocent or sort of victim money type. So they're carrying a story. Yeah. Or the innocence, where someone's always done it for me, I don't really understand it there, and that's how they sort of keep playing out in their life. And you spoke about before, accountability. So really responsibility, stepping up in regard to money. But I was in the financial planning industry, and we so often have spoke with clients around what do you want to retire on? Okay, so you need $5 million, and you could look at their mind, they weren't connected. They're going, why? What does that mean? Like, am I worthy of having $5 million? But we've actually sort of moved away, well, I have in particular, around what do you want your life to look like? And it's got nothing to do with money. As you said, money's just a tool
Yes.
to get you to joy and abundance. So, and we call it the 5 L's. So where do you want to live? What do you love doing? What makes you laugh? What do you want to be learning? What's your legacy? And whether that's 5 years or 10 years down the track or even further, actually start to paint a picture of their future self around joy and abundance. And I had a client there that she's stuck in the job. She's in a home that she's been in for 5 or 6 years now, sort of run down there. She's in survival. And we talk, she wants to live on the edge of a forest that's got a town community. There's a lot of nature there. So that was from the meeting last night, and she's already looking at properties that sort of start filling her desires and start understanding what is out there. I never even knew I wanted that there, but that nature is so important. So she's already starting her future life the next day, which is so exciting. And even with her roles that she's looking at, she's got some real passions, which were, I suppose, a bit deeper down there. When we did the work there, she's actually going, I'm going to start looking at the courses I need to do. I want to go in that direction because that's my passion, that's my legacy. Mm. So she's looking at what she needs to do, researching the industries, and she started that today. So these are really 2 shifts, which are quite dramatic in regard to energy.
Right.
Nothing to do with money. I'm just going, I'm going to start looking at the things that I can do, that I can choose to do for myself.
Well, and what I hear you saying is it's like taking off the blinders, this very narrow focus on the current quote reality, what is so I love Abraham Hicks as an example. And Abe always says, let go of what is, that we can have, be, and do anything in our lifetime. And I truly believe that we have, and I love quantum physics for that, right? We have infinite potentialities, infinite possibilities available to us. But most people are living from a very limited perspective. So even on that note, whether we're talking money, wanting to change our money story, wanting to change our health, our relationship status, our business, our career, it doesn't matter that I quote, a life bucket. I believe it's all the same formula.
Yes.
What's that formula? What are we saying?
The formula, to me anyway, my view is that you can't live your desired future from the past.
Right.
And then that's so powerful. So once you sort of understand with real clarity around what you want to create and why, and then you can actually start making those changes in a real powerful way. So that's transformation. So having the awareness and then having that transformation, because there's a lot of people that have awareness, but they're going, even this lady last night, when we talked about what she wants to do in a career, and then we talked about, she was there 5 years later and talking about what change she's created, her legacy. And then she started self-doubting that. And I said, when you self-doubt, like you've been there, you've seen it. There's no self-doubt. You saw the difference. You felt it. Yeah. And she actually had shivers, and she went, I can do this. This is me. And it's very powerful. That's a transformation, having the awareness and then the steps for the transformation.
It is really talking yourself into it, creating that certainty, the confidence, the belief. Here's what I just wrote down from what you shared. I feel like what we're kind of talking about is more about like reinventing ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, well said.
And I think of each day, literally each day is a blank canvas. Waking up with an attitude of gratitude. How do I want to spend today? I've been starting this new thing, and I was pointing, I have it on my desk calendar, but I write an intention every morning. Today, I intend and create, and I fill in the blank. Today. And one that helps me create a lot more presence, again, letting go of yesterday and the past. But the other things I wrote down, so this is about reinventing yourself, because you are the author, writer, producer of your movie to create clarity. Okay, so if you're not happy in where you are at, where you are, what do you want? And then the third I wrote, and then you take action.
Yeah. Yes. And that clarity is so important. And
Yeah.
as you said, so similar to you, I'd be, what are 3 things I'm going to do today? They're going to move me forward to the future that I desire. So it's not what things are, and it could just be spinning your wheel if you don't sort of have that clarity. What are 10 things I've got to do today so my boss won't sort of chastise me or whatever. But it's always with a narrative around creation.
Yes.
Narrative around your future. And when even you look at the subconscious mind, because it doesn't know the story that you tell it and changing a habit, it doesn't know whether it's right or wrong. So as an example, going back to that lady, she had so much emotion and feelings around what's going to happen in 5 years. The subconscious mind's going, wow, this is a different person. And we actually recorded it. And she's going to play it every day over the next 21 days just before she goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Repetition, self-hypnosis.
Exactly. And it's going to create the new habits. The subconscious mind's going to go, to begin with, it's going to push back going, no, you're not doing that.
Right.
Then it's going to start believing that that's truly what you want.
Yeah.
It's going to start looking for it. It's going to look for that validation externally.
You know what? I love that. And on that note, I heard recently, I'm sure you've heard this phrase, but fake it till you make it. And I don't agree with that one. But what I heard recently was embody it until you become it. And that I was like, whoa, that's expansive and growth. And what you're saying, the subconscious mind, I don't know if you touched on this, but yes, what you're saying is the subconscious does not know the difference between, quote, reality and imagination. It brings forth either way.
Yeah.
And we've heard it from goats, right? Greatest of all time, athletes. Athletes understand the power of visualization and mental rehearsal.
Yes. And how important is that visualization? So they visualize the game, they visualize standing up with the gold medal, whatever it be, whether it be team or whatever, but they actually visualize the whole process. I mean, this morning before this, I visualized what it would look like. I visualized the energy, the outcome, adding value, sort of being very purpose, just giving and having that frame coming into it, as opposed to, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I want a coffee, like all this narratives and stories that people can tell themselves. If you set your mindset to be your best, and it takes 30 seconds to put yourself in that position there where, as I said, you're going to show up as your best version.
Yes. Well, ultimately, that leads down to, I think, what I preach most is being mindful and intentional, that we can be proactive or reactive.
Yes. And everyone has a choice.
Yes. So I'm curious, can you walk us through what a day in a life looks like for you? Do you have daily rituals or daily practices that you're using to keep yourself in the energy and the internal work and focused?
And I think what I said before, so it's really, what are the 3 things that I'm going to do today that are going to move me forward in regard to what I'm building, so that create that life I desire. And that's so powerful to look at that going, there's always stuff. But these 3 things are important because it'll keep me tracking and keep the energy. I go to the gym most mornings. We walk down to the beach, have a coffee in the morning there. I do tapping in regard to setting intentions and self-worth and gratitude. So it sets up the day for the mind to look externally for things that are going to validate what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling internally.
I love that. Something else I asked you before we started recording that I'd like for you to share is, what is your Billboard message to humanity?
So mine is, and I see it a lot where people been on that autopilot or hamster wheel for many years, and then they come to, as an example, retirement or a relationship breakdown, they're going, I wish I had. The mine's really one day, which is really pushing it out there and not, I suppose, confronting whatever it is. So I move it from one day to day one. So day one is take a step,
Yeah.
take a baby step, take some form of step to actually reach out wherever you need to go, I want change. I want to create a life that brings me joy and abundance.
Yeah. Well, and what I want to add to that is, at least in my experience, especially when you're taking, quote, big leaps or getting out of your comfort zone. I remember when I was finally, I quit corporate, you may never feel ready for that next big thing. But it is just, I love to use the phrase, let fear fuel you, not rule you. And I've learned to go towards that thing that, feels scary or whatever, because I feel like that's where the most expansion is and that we will always be provided for. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the other side of fear is growth. So yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. So it's stepping through that door, and there is a bit of an unknowing.
Yeah.
But just having that belief there that fear can hold you back or fear can support you, knock down that door and just go, here I am. I think everyone was born imperfect. And that's what we've got to embrace, where we think you've got to be in this perfect situation to go to the next step. You can create it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection, it's a word that I don't resonate with, because that can, again, hold people back going, I need to have everything lined up to take the next step. And you might never get everything lined up. So there might never be that next step.
Right.
Remember, if you're a baby and learning to walk and you fall over, get back up, do it again. You probably do that 200 times, but then you walk.
Yeah.
And then you run.
I think ultimately, since we touched on reinventing yourself earlier, something I got from you is to ignite your highest potential. What do you mean by that?
That's really understanding what your highest potential actually means, what you really want out of life, what your desires really are, what's your impact, what's your legacy. And when you have that sort of clarity, then you can actually, it's a different energy. So it's really looking at, and it might be helping organizations, whatever it is there. Once you understand what that impact, your why, your purpose, and having real clarity around that, going, well, that's where now I'm going to go and search for. And whether it be relationships, and it might be that we spoke about before, being a mum, and I'm big on self-care for mums there, because if we look at societal conditioning, it really is that you care for everyone else. So your highest potential simply can be the way you're showing up in that family, as an example, or in community, showing self-care and having more energy to actually put out to other people there, where they're going like, oh, this is someone that's really looking out for herself. She has so much love for herself that just expands out to everyone else. It's amazing.
Okay, so I have a question on that note. Something you said when we were talking about highest potential is, your purpose. I literally remember in my 20s Googling, what is my purpose? Because I feel like many of us are seeking that. What am I supposed to be doing? What is my purpose? Have you seen the movie? Oh, shoot, I'm going to forget it, right? It's Disney. I think it's one word. Oh, no. Okay, I can't think of it right now. But anyway, it's a Disney movie. And the moral of that story was your only purpose in life is to chase joy. Your joy, whatever brings you joy. And a lot of times I remember my first coach, he's like, be more childlike. Children don't have worries. Children aren't thinking they're unworthy or not capable or self-doubt. So be more childlike. Would you agree with that on the whole purpose statement? What brings you joy?
Yeah, I do agree exactly with what you said there. And I'd also say that people think it's like this expansive question.
Yeah.
So the purpose could be just to be loving. It's it's almost like, if you look at the media and whatever, it's almost like you've got to change the world with this purpose.
Yeah.
So it becomes too big. Yeah. And you said it before, like my purpose is to have joy within me and extend joy out. What a great purpose.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Okay, so question for you, because we touched on many different subjects today. What do you feel is a key takeaway you want listeners to get?
So I want listeners to have a curiosity around what's going on in their life and start asking questions. Curiosity and questions is the start of awareness.
Mm.
And it allows you to actually understand yourself better, and then it allows you to go, well, here's some things that I want to change. That's powerful.
And that helps create clarity.
Exactly.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so I have a few rapid fire questions for you to wrap up the interview. The first being, what is a quote or motto that you live by?
So it's from Dr. Bruce Lipton.
I love.
So your life is a printout of your subconscious mind.
I love
And
Bruce.
that's very powerful. I look at that every day, and I look at what my subconscious mind is trying to tell me today, and whether is it serving me or whether it's trying to sort of put me back in that comfort zone.
So I love Bruce Lipton. I think he's a prime example. He is the happiest, giddiest. He nerds out. He nerds out on the science, but he loves it.
He's very passionate. Yeah.
Yes, love him. Okay, what is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
So it's a relationship about money, and I don't have the book here, but I can do it in the notes maybe. But it's just so important what I've seen, even with my friends, what's happening globally. It's a financial intimacy for couples. That's an over. It's so powerful because you're ideally in a relationship for years and years, and it's just such a way to have a depth in a relationship.
Final question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Would have been to step out of my comfort zone. I was led with that sort of autopilot on that sort of treadmill for too long. Mm. And whatever I do now in my life, if people judge what I do, I'm fine with that.
Yep. Let go of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Michael, thank you so much for joining and having this conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Heather. I appreciate it.